If you have problems with either thinning or chunking your wedge shots, then this lesson is perfect for you. I used to think that the only way to hit high pitch shots was to release the club and use bounce, similar to how Dan Grieve teaches with his 3 releases. However, if you don't time that release right, you can either thin it or chunk it, which is something that could happen a lot if you don't have the best of hands. And further, if you haven't played golf in a while, usually that short game feel is one of the first things to go. In this lesson, Tim teaches me a method that is way more consistent, similar to how Joe Mayo retransformed Viktor Hovland's short game.
If you're trying to time the flip of this thing,
Yep.
you might catch it with nothing. That's a chunk, right? Like I didn't flip it fast enough. Or you might flip it early and now it's like the only thing it's gonna hit is that leading edge. So we're relying on you as a player, totally confident, not nervous at all, not scared or moving differently, to be like, time that and like on a different occasion every time. Rather than like, do this.
Yep.
Like just keep doing this and just do it a little bit differently as you go through to engineer that. Go this way more, go down more, but don't change this so dramatically. The moment you start doing that is when, like I've done this before, where you're like, whoops, bing, and it goes over the green. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think that this approach to short game is perfect for new golfers, or if you're in a pressure situation and you just need a reliable shot. And guys, if you're new here, my name is Chonger. I'm an average golfer with the goal of trying to get to scratch, documenting my journey along the way, including weekly lessons and reviews on gear and gadget that helps me improve. So follow along if you haven't already, and let's dive into this lesson.
So 54 yards out of here, that post from where we're standing is 88 yards away.
Yeah, okay.
So 54 yards in the direction of that post.
Okay, so I'm thinking kind of like that little rough patch.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously got a bunch of shots that you can kind of hit here, and then you can start to figure out how far 54 yards is. Let's have a look with speed there. So 59 ball speed is going to get us probably a little long in terms of carry. So it carried 62 and went 68 total. So we need a little bit more height out of this too. That ball was coming in a bit low.
So I gotta reduce the smash.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna try to get this a little less.
Less shaft lean, right?
Yep, exactly. Probably a little better there. Yeah, 54 miles an hour should be about the right carry. Almost exact. 56 carry, 59 total. Is there an area like in your short game that causes you issues?
I think it's reading. I guess shot selection is one thing. Do I play it high, low? Do I want to play with spin? Club selection, and then how am I interacting with it to get it the best?
Okay. Why don't I just give you the script that I have for like short shots around the green, then you can take them into pitch shots.
Sure.
So I'll take your spot for a second, and I'll talk. If you want to go like there, then you can probably see me best. So when we get into these little areas, and it's noticeable that you maybe have a little bit more ball speed or the ball's coming in a little bit low, I would say that what happens then is we get the arms kind of overactive in the swing, and they're going to dictate a little bit of the speed and take away a little bit of your potential consistency. So instead of that arm kind of being driven, I really like to kind of create an anchor point out of like the left arm, whether it's like squeezing that armpit or whether we just sort of like really make sure that I'm turning and kind of hitting this with my chest a lot more. So once I do that and say like a little pitch shot setup, my weight is definitely more forward. I'll flare a little bit open so that my stance kind of gives me the benefit of being able to sort of pivot and rotate into my follow through. Once I get myself in that position, I can create a little bit of shaft lean, but as long as I maintain that as I go through and I'm not adding anything with wrist hinge, I'm not going to accelerate the club too much. So once I can pivot and rotate through, I start to get a pretty general looking sort of like pitch bump sort of feel. Depending on where I exit in the follow through, so if I'm coming towards you, I kind of treat them like exit ramps. If I exit really low and left of me, this is going to be the lowest flighted, lowest running shot. If I take that next ramp up that goes maybe a little bit more like mid-hip, up just under my rib cage where my hands are exiting, the ball will flight up a little bit higher. And then if I go to the last one where I'm actually flighting my hands up almost like shoulder and the club kind of climbs to the ceiling, I have like 3 different apexes to the trajectory of like the same swing.
Yeah.
Once I have that and I use different clubs, maybe I use 3 different wedges around the green, I've kind of got 9 shots that I can hit, depending on what I want to do. But I don't lose the connection anywhere. And I can take that all the way to probably around 50 or 60 yards. So if I want like a high lofted shot that comes in a little bit softer, I would make a motion that gets me feeling like I'm swinging up as I go through to kind of get that golf ball. My exit is always left of me. I'm never sort of running this club towards my target or releasing the handle as I go through. If I want that high, soft shot, then I'm just letting my hands work up into the follow through, and that'll elevate the golf ball.
As far as tempo is concerned, because like if you're swinging more back and then higher up to get the higher shot, are you also swinging at a slower tempo?
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't need a lot to make the golf ball go far. Like that last swing carried 50 yards and went 53 yards, and my ball speed was 50 miles an hour. There's a really cool matchup that happens if I'm not over accelerating, that my club head speed my carry distance and my ball speed kind of come out with the same number. One's in miles per hour, one's in yards. But if I fly at 50 yards, it should be around 50 miles an hour. Sort of just discovered this hitting a lot on TrackMan to kind of see like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But yes, the tempo is longer and smoother for me to achieve these softer flighted shots rather than an up-tempo swing where I noticed you were really trying to open the face to take off a little bit of that speed off the ball. But we can just pitch this a lot slower. And the slower I move, the softer the ball comes out. So we're really controlling it a little bit with that tempo as well. That's grip pressure. That's my pace that I turn this in. The cadence kind of comes down, and the golf ball just keeps landing softer. These are carrying 33 yards and stopping at 34. And the ball speed is pretty relative, and my smash factor is low relative to it, and I'm still creating a lot of spin on these like little shots. So just that approach kind of coming into it, if you can keep the connection, then it's easy to be soft.
Yep.
If you're using your hands as sort of the barometer for your speed, then slowing down becomes a disconnected golf swing. You almost have to go fast to kind of like keep that same connection. So it changes a little bit from, like a golf swing to now it's almost like more similar to a putting motion where there really is like a connected point in this swing.
At what distance, like 50 yards, 60 yards, 70 yards, are you kind of thinking more higher flighted shot versus now I'm actually thinking about compressing my wedge shot to, get some spin or whatever, thinking of more of a fuller
When
shot?
you're close to the green, I think trajectory can hurt you if it's too high. You almost want to like take the lowest route always when we're like green side chipping, maybe pitching a little bit. But then as we start to fall back away from the green, if we can start to get this thing up, then I don't have to worry about the spin as much. The spin will sort of be there. But if I can land this a little bit steeper, then the general area where that ball's going to settle is going to be a little bit better. So you'll notice players at the highest level, when they start to back out in that like 50 or 60 range, the apexes go way up. They're not driving them in nearly as low and trying to create spin. It's just harder to control. But definitely around the greens, kind of in that range, it's like keep it as low as you possibly can. That's pretty common from like good players. Once they get away from the green in that like 50 to 70 yard range, you'll see them start to want to add spin. They're either cutting it or they're flighting it higher. There's not a lot of hooks coming into those greens because the carry distance and the total distance, there's a big hop that happens between that shot when we're drawing it in there versus the ability to sort of cut it in. Just that is, I think, look for the highest option comfortably without having to like hoist it. It might be loft, it might just be technique, but you want to see this without having to manipulate the club face too much, just by the way that you kind of create your exit.
So it's pretty much almost case by case, depending, I guess, based on whatever my maximum is. Like if my max of like a soft flighted thing is like, let's just say 65 yards. If I know I'm at 70 or above, then that's when I'm thinking, okay, now I actually have to
Yeah,
you're more like
you're probably
fuller.
almost starting to get a golf swing out of it.
Yeah.
Compressing a little bit, creating some spin. Yeah, exactly.
So you want to go to your max comfort point as far, because the high flighted one will more or
Yeah.
less kind of be more consistent.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So leave this face a little bit more square at address.
Okay.
Okay. And then and really feel like, so when I watch you kind of take that away, I see your left arm kind of go across your chest, which creates a kind of a narrowing that's going to have to expand as we come back in. So I want you to feel like, almost like this is an L shape here out of your chest and your arm, that when you turn away, we're not infringing or closing in on the chest where it gets narrow, and then you have to like push it back out. That's just a reaction that creates speed. So we want to feel like, you know, like if I just turn this way back towards you, I've still got this like shape. My chest is here, my arm is there. It never kind of gets across the chest with these little shots.
Some more.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
wide.
Yeah, I think like you think of historical fantastic wedge players, like Steve Stricker or Zach Johnson. They look like robots around the green, and in their approach shots, they're not really handsy, armsy players. They're really just moving to keep everything under control. Yeah. So you just kind of maintain that triangle, and it's more like turn the chest, turn the chest.
Duh.
It's okay. Take your speed off a little bit, and you want to make sure that you're exiting way more left in the follow through with your hands. So this is more of a pulling of the grip. We're not releasing the club head up in the follow through.
Yeah.
I'm pulling the grip almost like past my pocket. So we're really creating an open face, or creating a bit of a saw off with that release. That's an angular release. I'm pulling, and rotating as I go through, versus trying to just let my hands work through slowly where it would climb up into the swing. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, great. I'm gonna watch from here. Good, just don't be afraid to interact with the ground. We need a low point well past the golf ball. I'm gonna pull up the other screen on TrackMan. I know this is nice to sort of see kind of pseudo targets there, but it doesn't really matter. I'm more interested in you moving that low point ahead of the golf ball.
In my head with a soft swing, I don't think I can get it there, so I almost feel like I have to do a twitch like a...
I mean, there's no target out there,
Yeah.
so let's just see how far it actually goes when you do this.
Sure. So it was a feeling I want to cut the ball, or...
Yes, and I want you to try to get as far past the golf ball with your interaction as possible. So it's ball and then ground that comes after. You do not have to open the face nearly as much. So this is definitely hitting a little bit behind the golf ball.
Yeah.
So your low point is almost 2 inches behind the ball. And we want to move it to like 4 inches past the ball.
Okay.
Okay? I'm going to jump in for a second. I'm my 54. I'm just going to throw one up here. We're going to go like around 50 yards from where I'm set up on this thing. So my low point distance there, my low point distance is 3 inches ahead of the golf ball, and I'm 4 degrees down on it. A little in the heel, so I'm looking at my low point side. I'm a little left coming into it, but I'm 3 inches past the golf ball, so I'm going to hit the golf ball first. I think the best thing that you can do in your short game is interact with the ball before anything else.
Okay.
Bounce is nice, but we don't really need to use it until kind of post impact. So I want you to really feel like you can kind of pinch this golf ball.
Do you only use really bounce when you're kind of around the green for...
Yeah, you can, definitely. Obviously, we're using it out of the bunker probably a little bit more.
Yeah.
Bounce is gonna help you sort of get the club to move through the turf, the interaction that you have depending on what kind of player you are and how you deliver it. But if we just never use it, if we just deal with ball first always, you're gonna be way better. So let's try to get a nice little pinch way past the golf ball. Let's see what swing direction is. So we got you 1 down and 0.7 ahead, but obviously it was in the heel a little bit. So that's you moving this way, Graham, like this.
Yeah.
And we want to move this way. So we really want to move into the left heel, right? Really want to open this thing up. So open up your stance a little bit. You can drop your left foot back, but we're really swinging down and left of you. So I want you to move that, like that last little brush of the grass started here. I want you to start brushing the grass literally 4 inches ahead of the golf ball.
Okay.
So your practice swings can be way up there. So you got to swivel to get up there. Okay, yeah. Do that again. Do that again right there. Yeah, good. This way. I really want you to shave it off this way. The more you swing left,
Yeah.
the more you're swinging down, the more you're gonna get it past the golf ball. The more you're swinging neutral, it's gonna be harder for you to do that. You're probably gonna shank a couple. And if you swing any to the right, then you're swinging almost up at it. So we really gotta make sure that this thing stays down and then you start to interact way later. So this is more of a swivel before you get there. Great. Yeah. Yeah. When I'm hitting these little shots,
Yeah.
I'm just watching your right arm. My right elbow never really gets behind my midline. So on the side of my body there, if it does, it's gonna push out away from me. When I get to the top of this swing, my right arm is pretty much straight and it stays almost on top of my left arm. So it goes from like there where I'm gonna swing this thing away from me to now when I pitch this up, this shoulder stays up and now I can pull this thing across my body a lot more. Creates a really nice little clip coming down into it. Yeah, good. Yep. Good. Nice. At the end of this, when you finish, that's great. When I finish, that club face should look like that. So as I go through from where I'm starting right there on that grip to where I take it in the backswing to where I work my way through and it finishes over there, I want to feel like that face is still pointing up in the fall.
So if it's like this, I release the club.
Yeah,
and
right.
So I want to. Okay.
Right. So I'm almost like a drop shot in tennis where I'm going to cut underneath this thing
Yep.
a little bit more. Right.
Okay.
Yep, you got it. Yeah, good. Just starting to sound better in the turf. A little less clanky. Good. So let's just hold this off like 9-3 in terms of hand height. So hands will go there, and then hands will stop there. Beautiful. Yeah. When you finish this, it's going to feel like you're really deep in your left heel. Great. Like really pulling your toes up. Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah. Where it's really throwing you into a spin. Good. Yeah. Let's hit some and see. Let's just move that low point way ahead of the golf ball. I like that. Awesome. So 4-8 down on it, 4 inches ahead of the golf ball, creating some really good kind of deficiency in terms of like your spin rates. It's coming out a little lower because of where you're driving. The last piece of this is how you exit. Your exit kind of gets you moving ahead of the golf ball, which I asked you to do. So when you finish, your exit has you leaning there. If I want to hit this thing with a little bit more height and float, my exit drives me up. So I don't pivot to go on top of this thing and then squeeze it.
Yeah.
My pivot is almost getting out of its way. So I'm really like getting my head to the ceiling. Right. Yeah, really just exactly. Just pushing it up. Do you know Joe Mayo? Do you listen to Joe Mayo at all? Do you know that guy?
No.
Okay. Joe Mayo is a polarizing. Have you ever heard of Short Game Chef? Parker McLaughlin? These guys are like legendary coaches. There's two schools of thought in terms of how to hit a chip shot.
Yeah.
Which in my opinion, that means that there's multiple, but there's like two sides right now, and there's just a fight going on social media. Parker McLaughlin and a lot of other, Gareth Raflewski, Gabe Yedstead, great PGA Tour coaches, are coaching bounce. Let's let bounce cruise into it, get the right bounce, hit the ball maybe at the same time, but kind of cruise in and let it come up. The problem with that is that if you're not really apt or you're not moving correctly, we are just hitting the ground before the ball, and then the ball can kind of like do a whole bunch of weird things. But it's a technique that when done correctly, it definitely works.
Yeah.
Joe Mayo is like, absolutely not, you guys are insane. you have to be 11 degrees down on your chip shots. You have to be down, pinching it, ahead, standing up at the end. Joe Mayo was Victor Hovland's coach all the way up until when Victor won the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
And then after, Joe was on some heated battles, and I think Victor didn't love that. So they parted ways. But Victor's short game was quite good after spending a lot of time with Joe. I really like Joe. I like the way that he teaches golf. He really just is focusing on wedge game. He teaches on wet grass in Texas a lot, in the nastiest lies, and teaches people how to chip really well. Some of the other coaches really teach on nice turf, or like Bermuda grass where you can just sort of like let it kind of float off the top. So he's teaching in difficult conditions, and I like his style because he's hitting the ball, he's teaching people to hit the ball first. So Joe's big message is, let's get ahead of it. I agree. Let's try to get the low point moved ahead. We're going to hit the ball first. Worst case scenario, we catch it a bit thin, but at least it's going forward. The worst thing that I think you can do around the greens as a mistake is chunk it. If you chunk it and it goes 4 feet in front of you, then you have to do it again. And now your brain is scrambled. You're either going to chunk it or you're going to thin the next one. And that's kind of like, that's the psychosis of like making that mistake. If you kind of catch one a little bit thin, but you're ahead of it and pinching the golf ball, it might go a little further than you anticipate, but it's like you can make that adjustment. You're like, okay, I can kind of, at least I did too much of a good thing. Does that make sense? So what I really like is the idea that we're going to hit ball first. We're regulating the spin and the speed by not letting the club head release in the follow through. We're kind of holding that off. And if I change my posture from someone who finishes towards the target, and I can kind of push myself back up and out, then now I'm really kind of cutting under this thing, and the elevation will start to show up too. This is a move that you will see a lot on tour, a lot. They're all kind of in their little pitch shots, but when they finish, their posture will go this way. It's very rare that you'll see a guy chipping on tour or pitching on tour, and he finishes like towards his target or leaning over top of it. They're like literally pivoting underneath and cut perfect. So we get that low point way up ahead. That's us staying on top of this thing to kind of deliver to the ground. And then now I can kind of post up at the end of this thing to really kind of cut underneath it.
Because if I did get the low point ahead and I stood up, then I'd be way behind.
Correct.
Right? So that's why I have to go there first, and then I can...
That's right. And then we kind of back out, right? Nice. So we throw a little steepness on it. That last one was great. I just want to see it come up a little bit. Let's see if we can get the launch window up a little bit. That was a good shot. Right. It's the combo, right? It's trying to put it all together.
I think I came up, but I didn't go forward, right?
Yeah, you did. So I want us to stay with the first message because that threw you into an attack angle that was +2. I'm going to show you what like 9 degrees down looks like and how the ball comes out. So I've got a 54-degree wedge here. Let's go like super steep on this thing. That might not be 9, but it's going to be something. It's 8. Okay? But it sounded wicked, and it spun like crazy. So it's me getting ahead of this thing and then trying to get out of there. I'm just a little close to the golf ball. That's toey and 4, but I'm still ahead of it. And down. And we'll get this way up ahead here. So I can really be aggressive through the shot, and this thing's coming out with a lot of spin. That's a nice one there. So I'm 6 degrees ahead of it. 4 inches down, or 6 degrees down, 4 inches ahead. My ball is really spinning at a deficiency, carrying 51, stopping at 55, with almost 8,000 RPM of spin on it.
So it's the spin that creates the deficiency?
And it's the spin for us that allows me to be aggressive through this golf shot rather than passive, where like if I just have the ball coming off too hot, you have to like ease into these little shots. You want to be able to be like, I can go at this thing.
So if you hit down more, that'll create more spin.
That's right. If we hit down more and a little bit more across, right? I'm working my swing direction and path are starting to go well left of the target. right? So that spot that you're trying to hit is way past the golf ball. Yeah, I will give you a bit of a trick here. Yeah, you're finding it there. So if my club head stays outside of my hands, then when I change direction with this thing, I can pull it way more left of me. If that club head kind of gets a bit more neutral, then when I go to pull this thing to the ground, it's going to be hard for me to do anything except sort of bottom out. So I like the idea in my takeaway that I take the thumbs and I stick them up away from me, like 45-degree angle. And I'm hinging the thumbs up in that space. I'm not using flexion extension. So I'm using radial deviation. I'm using this to kind of work my way up. If I go this way, this is flexion and extension. So really what I'm doing is I'm just thumbs up in the takeaway. And then now when I swing down, I'm going to hit something that's well left of me. And then I can kind of add that speed to it. Right. Way more of that mechanism. Good. Yeah. Yeah, there. Good. Up. I like that. I like that a lot. Sweet. 5 degrees down, 4 degrees ahead. Really nice. Getting that spin.
I think it's still coming out a bit hot though, right?
Sure it is, yeah, it is. I mean, it was a little bit in the heel too, so it's not going to be like the purest spin out of there. But yes, you can launch that a little bit higher. But I like it. You're starting to like work across this golf ball a little bit. We also have a 54 degree, and I will say the bounce on this one is what?
8.
Oh, we have the M. Okay, you're good. Yeah, you're good. I'm literally hitting the same club as you. So we're using the same tool to kind of create that. We can definitely get a little bit more open with the stance, right? Yeah. And if you move that ball position more forward, it will help you swing it a little bit more left.
Okay.
Yeah, you can narrow this up a little bit too, like really narrow. Good, nice. You can really sort of pivot into your pocket here. Yeah, great. $7,300 RPM spin. Just a little bit more speed than you need, but you look at that thing kind of coming at your 6 degrees down on the golf ball and 4 degrees ahead. So you have there's no way that you're going to hit the ground before the golf ball there.
So for it to launch higher, I need to swing a bit faster?
Not necessarily, no. What we need is that finish to end up a little bit higher. Right? That point. And it's not the club going higher necessarily. It's once I finish, it's how I drive my hands to pull the club higher in the follow through. And that's where that posting comes out. Let me jump in and I'll show you like a high one. So with this 54 degree wedge, if I wanted to hit this way up in the air, notice where that ball is positioned in my stance.
Yep.
I'm open for sure. I'm narrow for sure. And then if I want this to work out high, I've got to really start to pull this thing up and left of me in the follow through. So my hands work up and left of me and that ball comes way out in terms of height. I'm not nearly as down on this one, but I'm still left and I'm creating a lot of spin. So I'm only an inch ahead of it. I'd like to be a little bit more, but I know that some of this is the elevation that I want to create. If I get that back to like 5 or 6 degrees down, I think it's a little harder for me to get the height that I want out of it. It might only be 3. Yeah, so that's 3 down. Still not bad in terms of height. That's 41 feet in the air and I'm 3 down on it and creating that spin at like 80 for 6,500. But when I started to really go heavy into this style more than there was a way that you can just sort of like let the bounce kind of cruise underneath there,
Yep.
the contact's just better.
Yeah. It's more consistent, right?
It's way more consistent. It's way, because everywhere in the game of golf, except for one place, we're hitting ball first.
Yep.
The bunker is the only place that I just don't have that option, and maybe a little bit in the rough that I might get some interaction, but with grass, I'm trying to get the ball before anything else everywhere, so this stays with the message of like the game of golf.
And I think it's more consistent technique amongst different lies too, because if you're in the rough, you can't necessarily.
Let's go out here for a second and like just a quick demo.
Yeah.
If I stand here and I go, okay, here's a technique where, like players will coach this. Like all I have to do is just sweep the ground first. okay, I don't really have control over that. I definitely hit behind the golf ball first. I do that like that, and then now I'm like in real trouble.
Yep.
And I'm like, I almost did what I wanted to on this one. The first one sucked. This one's even worse. And I'm like, okay, now I'm in wet grass here. Let's just get that low point up ahead of the golf ball. I'm gonna have so much more control over the flight of this thing. And it's like the worse the lie, the more I really wanna just deal with the golf ball first. As soon as I do that, my ball was there, I'm interacting with it there, I've got way more control over this thing. Like way more.
Yep.
And all I needed to do was just convince myself that, yes, it's cool that I can kind of cruise this in if I have good hands and I'm comfortable and I'm confident. But if I'm not and I get a little nervous and I work a little quickly, that chunk is going to happen. And then you're like, the game's over. Then chipping is going to be really hard. I've been through it before because I kind of went down that rabbit hole. I'm like, oh, they build all these bounces for us to be able to cruise into the golf ball, and started to kind of play some shots like that. And I have a great short game. That's a huge part of my game. And it disappeared for a while. And I was like, what is happening here? Like I'm doing all the things that I've, you know, studied and read about, and it just took me down a really weird rabbit hole. And then you start to think about like when I was really good at this, I never hit anything but the ball first.
Yeah.
It's in my opinion, it's pretty much the only way that I'd ever want to teach anyone to hit a wedge shot.
Do you know this guy, Dan Grieves? He teaches short game. He kind of talks about these like 3 release points or whatever. But I think he also kind of talks about using the bounce a bit more. And kind of like almost less drivey and more kind of releasing it.
He does. And Dan's one of those guys that has incredible hands.
Yeah.
Incredible hands. And when he teaches his players, I do like how he gets them to lean. I do like the positioning. And I do like how he gets a player to like swing the hands up kind of green side, short side. But Dan is also coaching them to kind of get the ball at the same time. Whereas there's these techniques like don't use your wrist and brush the grass and let it kind of come off. I love his stuff. And here it is in a nutshell. Parker McLaughlin and Raflewski and maybe Dan a little bit, and a bunch of coaches will teach that style as their way. Joe Mayo and a lot of other coaches will teach that style as their way. There's like all of that exists in the game and all of it is correct. To me, if we just deal with the ball before everything, then all players are probably going to be better at just trying to focus on the golf ball. If you're trying to learn a technique that's different from like you striking a pitching wedge, like, okay, we want to hit 5 down on a pitching wedge, ball first, compress, divot afterwards. We want to do that all the way through the bag. And I think every coach would agree on that. All the way up until you get to like your fairway woods, we still want to hit down on it a little bit, ball first. Ball's on a tee with the driver, doesn't matter, we want to hit up on it, great. Why would the technique change so dramatically the moment we just get like a little shot around the green that now we're going to hit an inch behind the ball and like lift it off of the ground? It's like we should still be down on this thing. We have loft. If we just change the exit strategy a little bit, keep that face manageable, maneuver our body a little bit differently, then it just stays the same as like a little pitching wedge. And then my pitch shots are kind of the same. So it doesn't like, it's not a huge vacation from the way the game is kind of played, where it's like down, 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 compress, compress, spin, spin, spin. And then all of a sudden it's like sweep and lift. And you're like, whoa, it's so different. It's so hard to pick it up. So
yeah, I think that's why I'm having a bit trouble with the shots, because I'm thinking in my head, like if I want it higher, I almost need to flip at it more to release it. So that way I get the high soft one, you know, that Dan talks about, for instance, because like traditionally, or at least what I maybe was wrongly informed, but when I feel like I'm driving the ball, it goes lower. So the intuitive thing is like, okay, I have to go kind of flippier to get it higher. But I mean, you've just shown that you can still get it high with that, and I guess I just...
And it's just this, right? Like, so right now this wedge has 8 degrees of bounce when it's like this. Okay, so now it has like 0. So now it has like 15. So you have, if you're trying to time the flip of this thing, you might catch it with nothing. That's a chunk, right? Like I didn't flip it fast enough. Or you might flip it early and now it's like the only thing it's going to hit is that leading edge. So we're like, we're relying on you as a player totally confident, not nervous at all, not scared or moving differently, to be like, time that, and like on a different occasion every time, rather than like, do this.
Yeah.
Like just keep doing this and do this and just do it a little bit differently as you go through to engineer that. Go this way more, go down more, but don't change this so dramatically. The moment you start doing that is when, like I've done this before, where you're like, whoops, bing, and it goes over the green. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right, but there's a flop shot that you can hit that just goes like this. Just goes, and the ball goes that way, and it just goes straight up in the air.
Yeah.
So we just don't change the conditions of this tool nearly as much and deliver it to the golf ball and create a reaction. Yeah, Mickelson is wicked around the greens, and all he does is just like flip and time it. But you can't teach that to people. You're gonna kill people around the chipping green. They're just gonna launch it into each other. You have to give them the option of like, hey, we have 60 degrees of loft or 54 or whatever. If I just touch this thing, the ball's gonna go like that at neutral. If I lean it this way, it's gonna go like that. If I go like this a little bit and leave the hands forward and go this way, it's gonna go higher. So that's probably high enough. How much more do I need out of that? Do I need to like do all those things to kind of get there? That's my argument is there's an easier way to just not change it as much and just move differently to get that club there. So low point for me is a huge advantage if we can get ahead of this golf ball all the time. I think your worst shots, not you personally, but I think the worst shots that we hit are ground first.
Yeah.
Like everywhere around the greens. So let's just like avoid that. Let's take that out of it. Nice. Yeah. And the more that you can pivot here and pull that grip that way, rather than driving forward, that forward is the down. This pivot to get myself out of there is the height that you're gonna get. Right. Right. Good. So it's like this shoulder and hip goes this way to give myself my space, like away from the target and up. Right? It's not that I'm driving in and then I stand up late. It's like, bang, I'm out of there to sort of cut underneath it. Yeah. Right. It's like opening up for that like surprise uppercut. I'm not throwing it this way. I'm like, bing, and hitting it that way. Right.
Okay.
Just got to get to that low point. Right? Still just got to push that up there.
Yeah, it's one thing to work it all together because I think if I focus on low point, I can do it, but then I lose the
So one thing at a time. Let's just keep it ahead of the golf ball, and then you just do that over and over and over again until you can kind of get the flight. Now I will say this: off the mats, the ball's going to skid. When it skids, the spin rates come out a little lower typically.
Yeah.
When it comes out lower, flight is lower. So if I'm elevating the golf ball off of the mat, I'm kind of cheating it a little bit. If we're off the grass and I do the same thing or the same thing you're doing, I bet you the ball comes out higher.
Can I try and hit one off the...
For sure. Yeah, for sure you can. Hit a couple out there. So make your practice swings and make sure you're moving that turf like 4 inches ahead of the golf ball. See, that's behind the golf ball. So you're lined up to it, which is great. But like get this thing way ahead of the golf ball.
And actually take a divot?
Sure, or, yes, of course. Yeah. We're not going for the deepest divot, we're just going for the one furthest past the ball. Okay? So steep with the thumbs, right? Thumbs up and away from you. Good. Now that's more driving through. We want it to go a little bit left, but that's great. I love that you move that up ahead.
I feel like whenever I get to grass, the mental thing is like I don't want to chunk it, so then sometimes I thin it.
Right.
Whereas on the mat, I feel like I have the safety. But
yeah, and that's where the mat is like, it's fooling you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to interact with the turf, for sure. It's wet grass there too. Awesome. Yeah, go put that on the ball.
So we kind of want to see the divot a bit more left,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, we're working a little left, we're working a little down, but like we want to get to that low point that's well past the ball. So that was behind the golf ball, slightly. And the divot kind of went out to the right a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go up to that pile up there. I don't love, if you're okay standing out here, I don't love divots right in front of you. I hate looking at those. So here, let me show you here. So there's the ball. Here's this shot here. So I can still use bounce.
Yep.
It's just over here. I get to the shot here. All right, low point. Probably a little closer than I wanted to the golf ball. Just get that ahead. Arm stays in there. So ball here, divot over there, working into it.
Yep.
Right, for me to get into that space, I'm looking at a low point that's up there. I'm gonna make really nice contact like all the time on that golf ball, all the time. And it's totally fine to remove some divots from here. I'll get a towel for us. Good, open up that face just a little bit. Good, don't do it slow, go for it on these practice swings. Go for it. Yeah, good. Pull it more left of you, right? Yeah. Good, feet closer together and open it up. Open your stance more. Great. It's too much towards the target. You're going that way. I want you to swing left, right. Yeah. Do that again. Good. So make your backswing again. Yeah, I'm fighting that arm from getting trapped behind you. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
So I'm really sweeping across.
Yeah, big time, as much as you can. Left is down and ahead. Yep. Good. Now we don't need that big a swing. Let's just go hip high. Right, great. Okay. Way steeper here and way over there. So club head just like up to the ceiling. Steeper. Right. Yep. Good. Good. Steeper, but make sure it goes left of that divot. So just work that same divot again, but go on the back end of that divot rather than the front of it.
So back here?
No, try to get to the back of that divot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Try to go left of that divot. So if I put a ball here like this, go to that divot again, so set up to the front of it, and go through there without hitting that golf ball. So you're closed right now with your stance. Yeah.
Closed?
You are. Still closed.
Still closed? Mm-hmm. Oh, just with the...
Yeah, where that divot is. Here, watch it.
Okay.
Step out for a sec. This is how I would stand to make a ball go that way for this shot. So come put your right foot right here. Put it right in there. Right foot in there. Bang. Left foot right there. There you go. Now work that divot. So start there, but get it to go past there without hitting that golf ball. Yeah, go for it. Just swing. Good. Yep. Great. Good. Not so much speed.
Too much,
You're almost like full
much,
swing now.
yeah.
Just hip high, hip high. Yeah. Good. Okay, shuffle into the golf ball. Try to keep that same foot arrangement. Good. Okay, hip high, hip high. It's actually a good spot for that ball there. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, you're going to make a divot.
Yeah.
Anyways, might as well make it past the ball. This is soft grass right now. It's been raining all day. Like I would have to do this, like to be able to hit this without a divot, I'd have to like lay this face open and like just kind of cut underneath it a little bit. Oh, nice. Oh, that would have been wicked.
That would have been a cool
That would have been
trick
wicked.
shot.
Bang into the garbage can. But like, I'm gonna scuff the ground. It's gonna release. Anyways, yesterday I was hitting pitch shot, or 2 days ago I was hitting pitch shots. It was nice out. Everything was starting to firm up a little bit. I spent, I don't know, an hour over by that chipping green with a student and then a little bit of practice, and I barely made a mark because the ground's starting to firm up. This is going to disappear. You're going to make a divot off of this soft grass here, so we might as well make it past the ball. That last one was good. It was really good. Is it starting to make sense?
Yeah, to get that shot that you just did, to get it nice and high, what did you actually...
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, this is my 54.
Yeah.
So I lay this, I'll show you, it's a really simple recipe. I add loft.
Yep.
Remove that bounce, circle around, keep that in there, and then slide that thing underneath to get that height. So I'm still hitting past the golf ball a little bit, but I'm delivering it like this way. So
are you going as steep down, or you're still...
probably not as much.
Not as much.
No, probably not as much. This could be a little bit more neutral, right? I can just, from here, I can just move out of that same arrangement and cut underneath it. I don't really need to use as much hands. I don't need to hit down on it. This is one that I'm almost like now, I'm like my bump and run where I lock in here and then I just move my armpit back and forth and I might not take a divot at all. I'm just kind of hitting the golf ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me to get the high lofted 54, I'm just set up in that position. I'm really open now, starting to get a little bit lower in my stance and then cutting underneath it to get that ball to elevate. Like that's a 54-degree wedge.
Yeah.
With a 60, there's not anything that I can kind of run into that isn't that.
I think, I mean, that for most situations, that would cover a lot.
It's enough.
Like, it gets you over a bunker if you're short-sighted.
Right. Because of the way that I've set this wedge and maneuvered it, I'm not using my hands too much in this swing. I'm just letting this club head slide underneath as I go through. I'm just turning my body to let that thing cut. It's not me using too much of my, or trying to use a whole bunch of ability to flip this to go through. I've just set this club in that position. Now if I slide across it, it just goes up in the air. From here, touch thin.
Yep.
So, but also I've got that towel in my armpit. Yeah. Does that, you like that? That feeling? So we can do that. We can bring it back in here. And then obviously this is where you can just put reps on it and go like, okay, it has to sound correct. And it's nice to hit it off the wet grass out there and know that we're gonna make it, like I said, this is really important. You're going to make a divot. You're gonna interact with the ground anyways.
Yep.
Why not let's do it after the golf ball.
Thanks.
Also make sure your grooves are always clean. In practice and in play.
Yeah, I have a groove cleaner now, which I didn't before, and it makes a huge difference.
Well, yeah, you have like one on your bag? Oh yeah, I see, yeah. Good. Yeah.
That one I felt I went too far behind there. So
you ever play ping pong before?
Yeah.
So this is like, there's two serves in ping pong that will get someone. If you're right-handed, you'd stand on this side of the table. You either do like the rollover, where you get the ball to move like fast past your opponent, or you do the one that goes like this. And it like lands and then spins that way.
Yeah.
We're doing this now. We're doing that shot. We're just like throwing it there. And if you think about where you're hitting that ball in space, the ball is here, and my racket is like going past the ball and down. When I hit this top spin lob, I'm like catching the ball here. My low point is like there. It's not dissimilar. If I just take a horizon for how I'm hitting that like ping pong shot, I'm either under the horizon and climbing up at it, or I'm above and my low point comes like after the interaction with the ball. That's what we're doing more of now is like, let's do that to hit this shot. And as I do that, when you hit that shot, you don't go this way with it, you go like this. To spin it. We're doing the same thing. Outstanding. We're across, we're creating spin. I estimate, I think I was talking about this with some guys, I estimate that the spin rate is shy out of the off of sim mats by about 500 to 1200 RPM. So we're almost like in the 9,000 range of spin, which is wicked. So we're getting really good spin numbers, really good stopping potential. Your height's coming up to like 33 feet, and it's like ball first all day long.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Still on it higher.
Yeah, right. Right.
Just a question, because I'm going to be playing on Monday, and maybe it's wet grass or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how, one, I guess, wet grass affects distance, as far as maybe there's certain technique that goes into it, and then also if you're 50 yards from the rough versus 50 yards versus the fairway.
Yeah.
Is there anything different that you need to do?
Yeah, I mean, you have to read the lie a little bit. I think the rough, the one thing that happens is anytime there's anything that's interacting with the grooves and the golf ball, anything getting between the grooves, then the ball is going to spin less.
Yeah.
So less spin is less height. Less spin can also mean more rollout distance. Out of wet grass, the water kind of gets in the grooves and it'll sort of cover it and it just sort of hydroplane. When the ball runs up the face and it hits higher on the face, typically we lose that spin and the ball will sometimes go farther. That's where the flyer comes in.
Yeah.
It like runs up and then goes. You can still definitely get spin out of the rough.
Yeah.
You just have to read the lie. If the ball is sitting down where the equator is close to the ground and you've got too much material, that's when the ball is going to probably come out a little dead and release a little bit more. When the ball's sitting high and you can kind of like it's fluffy on the grass, you can kind of pick it out of there, you might actually be able to still get the ball to like actually check and spin. The way I equate it is like whatever you're losing in distance, you're probably gaining in rollout and losing in height. So it's like almost an equal trade-off to like play it out. Like you can't carry it the same distance. 50 yards from the fairway, the ball's gonna land and stop within, so let's just say 5 to 10 yards. Out of the rough in the same position, that ball might need an extra 12 yards of rollout, depending on how that ball is sitting. So it's a little like, it's why the pros, when they miss it around the greens, they're hoping to hit it in the bunker or leave it on the fairway. On the fairway, they know exactly what the ball's gonna do that's clean and they can interact with it. Out of the bunker, there's a technique that they can play and control it because it's predictable. The rough is the one variable that if they hit in the rough, they hit shots that maybe aren't as bad as the general public, but they can hit some pretty weird looking shots out of the rough that it's hard to anticipate what's happening. So that's one of those things. It's like, that's why there's rough on golf courses. It's kind of a penalty, right? It kind of like is a trip up for sure.
I guess also another pro ball first contact, even if you're playing on wet grass, you're not gonna dig into if you're using the bounce before, then your club's going to just go through and you don't even know what's going to happen.
Right. So I'm like, I know, it's just the same thing that I said is like we're going to hit the ground at some point. The ball's sitting on the ground. We need to get that ball off of the ground. We're going to hit the ground. We might as well make it after the golf ball so we can deal with the ball first. Right. Yeah, you're getting good here at even the swivel. Just sort of pushing back off of it. There you go.
And it's going a bit left. Is that just...
That's a little bit of where you kind of were releasing the face a little. Also, it got it in the heel, so it wasn't like the cleanest of contact, so it probably didn't have that like side spin imparted on it nearly as much. Remember, we're creating some angles here, right? You're swinging 6 degrees to the left. Your club face when it hit the golf ball was 5.5 degrees to the left. So when you miss it in the center and you don't quite get the right strike to kind of create that wipe deflection, then the ball just gets pulled a little bit. We want the face to be left, but not crazy left. Right, so it's like a little steering wheel. It's actually a cool way to see this. But in the backswing, most players will take that steering wheel, their grip, and they'll turn it this way, and then they'll turn it this way in the follow through. They'll turn the face over here, and then they'll turn it over there to finish their swing. In these little shots, it's like we turn the wheel the opposite direction. It's like I turn it this way, and then I turn it this way. So if I picture it like that, then I kind of get the wheel going. Okay, when I pick this up, rather than going here where it goes behind me, I turn the wheel up this way, and then I turn it this way. And when I do that, I kind of throw the face open. I just don't do it crazy, right? So for me on these little shots, I don't really maneuver the wheel very much at all. I just sort of pick it up over top. But then as I go through, I'm turning the wheel a little in the opposite direction. Right. So I'm doing that as I'm pulling that grip through. I'm turning the wheel so that I can keep that face that way. If I just let the wheel release, then the toe closes over top, then I'm probably going to pull it.
And that's why I'll go left more.
Right.
So I just have to feel like I'm holding it off.
That's right, exactly.
And then it won't.
Yeah. Exactly.
I can still swing left and hold it off, and then it won't go as bad as if I didn't.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool to feel like that opposite effect to kind of cut underneath it. It's what you would do, again, I go back to a ping pong paddle. It's like I take the paddle here and then I go like this, and I make it go that way. I'm just turning it the opposite direction. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. I gave you the wheel thing and you probably just turned it a little sooner than you wanted.
Yeah.
We don't have all your numbers on this one. That's okay. Pretty cool though. Definitely slowed down the golf ball a little bit. Pushed it more to the right.
Yeah, better, well, lower smash than I was getting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you just don't need to open the face as much. I think when I hit these little shots, I'm set up, you know, my stance is more open than my club face is. Where you are pretty much inclined to kind of get a little bit more square and then open the face.
Yep.
And then because of that, you have to kind of maneuver around too much of your body. This is like, just drop that foot out of there, leave that face a bit more square, and then now you can kind of pull it along your toe line a bit more.
Square and then...
Yeah, we're definitely like, dude, we're just slicing this thing. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to is we're trying to do this so that we can get on that golf ball first. It's just easier when you don't have that left side in the way. It's nice. It's definitely spinning. So this one was a little bit behind, right? And a little bit up at the golf ball?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Not terrible. Like I think if we were on the grass, that could be a different result than the mat for sure.
As far as it could have been thin?
Yeah, and it could have been like a little bit of turf before you got to the golf ball and might have slowed you down. It might have been a little bit of a chunk. Wouldn't have been as crisp a contact for sure. We never really want to see that low point start to creep behind the golf ball. It was only 0.5 inches behind the ball. So if you take from where the ball center is and go back, we're really dealing with almost like the ball and the ground at the same time on that last one. And it's kind of what it sounded like. Like when you hit it clean,
yep,
you can definitely hear the ball react first and then the thump.
Yep.
And on that one, it was like two things happening at once. It was like a double hit. So we really want to just get that pinch. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Low point. So that's you going right,
yeah,
not down.
I felt like I went forward.
Yeah, so open it up, leave that face more square. Good, right? That club's got to get way more vertical in the backswing. And you got to get that low point. Those are like, that's a brush behind the ball. That's past the ball to the right. We got to get this thing pulling closer to your left foot. Yeah, there you go, that.
So okay, I can even get it even like close. Like
that's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
you got it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Pull it into you for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. There you go. There we go. There's like an aha moment there. That was great. 6 degrees down, 4 across. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know I needed to actually get it that close to me.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right? You're just pulling that right in towards your right foot.
And then I felt the better contact.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. So sharp on the ball. Mm-hmm.
That was a bit behind, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think so. I think it was just a bit thin.
Okay, a bit thin.
It had that sort of cut feel to it. It just, when you pull a ball, like our TrackMan here is probably looking like in a space that's right here. In fact, yeah, it's kind of looking like over here somewhere. When you are over there and you pull that ball quickly, it just can't see it very well.
Okay.
That's it. But just hit a couple from like on this side right there, it'll see it fine.
I see also when you bring it around like this, it almost squares it up.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
yeah.
Okay.
Right, so you're like really like chopping your own toe off to kind of get into that space. Yes. Love that sound. Love that pinch. 5-2 down. Yeah, great.
That was, I didn't hold it off as much, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Really good though.
Is my swing direction and stuff too far left, or it's okay?
No, I'm not even concerned. Like,
no.
Honestly, if we just took those out of here and we just were looking at just a couple of numbers, low point, attack angle, low point height and low point side. So like where you're hitting it on the face, if we just looked at all those numbers and then related it to kind of like your spin rates and then maybe your launch angle. Your launch angle is, yeah, launch angle at 25 degrees.
Yeah.
It's great. Do we want it up a little bit? For sure.
Yeah.
You hit some that were a little bit higher, but the majority of what we wanted to work on today with this is just getting you comfortable of like moving that hit, your interaction way ahead of the golf ball, way more of like a pulling, cutting motion, so that you will only ever deal with the golf ball first. You might hit them a little skinny, like that last one or the one previous wasn't like the best contact.
Yep.
But the shot, if you looked at the distance and the total, it was still like right there.
Yep.
If you chunk the golf ball and it goes 5 yards in front of you,
Yep.
we have problems. You're just going to be in trouble. So I love this for you to have this like new element to the game. It's not the same as hitting a full shot in the regards that you want to like put some power into it and some speed to make the golf ball go a long way.
Yep.
But it's the same in the regards that we're dealing with the golf ball before anything else, like way more than just trying to bump a golf ball or pick it off of the ground. It just gives you the luxury that, yeah, I'm playing in soft conditions or great conditions, but I'm gonna go get the ball first and there's a divot that's gonna come after. That's why they give you sand in your cart, not to fill the divot behind the ball, it's to fill it after. We do that anyway. So keep that, work with it. Try to get that feeling that you can really sort of add that a little bit of a pinch stand at the end of it, that you're not letting that release over that little like wheel turn that we talked about.
Yep.
But the more that you get that direction that kind of swings past and on top of the golf ball, the sharper the contact will get. And you're just gonna start to rev the golf ball up. It just gets fun to be able to be that aggressive on these shots.
Yep.
And not feel like you have to like soft pitch something in there.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Makes sense.
Cool. Really good.
Sweet.
Right on time.
So that will conclude this lesson. Hopefully you can implement some of the short game tips in your game and help lower your scores. The next lesson as well, we are going to be working on some shorter shots around the green and then some putting. So we are really now going to try to make the push to lower the scores and drop the handicap. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.